Today, we're gonna talk about some of the weirdest things Simone Ashley had to do to prep for scenes involving sex. And it wasn't even for Bridgerton. This odd experience of hers comes from a completely different show, in fact. Having had the experiences of working on two of the most admired Netflix shows, Simone can not only draw direct comparisons, but also bring forth stories from both sets that are funny and all in all just bizarre. Let's get right into the video. First off, let's talk about sex education. In case you weren't already familiar, Sex Education is yet another amazing Netflix series that, strangely enough, shares quite a few similarities with Bridgerton. To begin with, both shows have people speaking with sexy accents in it, as they're both UK-based. Sex Education may not be a period piece, but it also has the element of public shame and humiliation that we, as a society, attach to all things sex-related. And of course, both shows have been graced with the brilliance of one Miss Simone Ashley. Sex Education is a show, as you can probably already tell from its name, that puts special focus on the characters' sex lives and romances. And despite the fact that Ashley essentially plays the role of a mean girl, she certainly has her fair share of sexually intimate scenes to film on the show. We all know that Bridgerton is also known for its intense and steamy scenes between characters. Sure, the Regency romance took a slower burning approach for its second season, instead of going all out with Duke and Duchess sexy times. But when the time finally came for Ashley's Kate Sharma and Bailey's Anthony Bridgerton to finally get hot and heavy, the show didn't hold back this time around either. You just know that there were some seriously awkward moments taking place on set that day, because TV sex isn't as hot, intense, and glamorous in reality as it is shown in the final cut. The cast and crew have to do a number of strange things to prepare for those scenes before they're shot. However, Ashley's weirdest sex scenes preparation experience doesn't come from Bridgerton. That award goes to Sex Education. And now, Simone Ashley's weirdest sex scene prep experience working on Sex Education. Being a guest on a recent podcast, Ashley opened up about her experience preparing for sex scenes for her show, Sex Education, way before she became the bold and incredible Kate Sharma. Apparently, the cast set up a sex intimacy workshop to help the younger cast members not only prepare for scenes of a sexual nature, but for them to also have an intimate, safe space where they can discuss sex and their expectations with it, while also being told about what was going to be expected of them during the shooting of such scenes. Doesn't all that sound wonderful? How cool of the show to provide these young actors with such an amazing workshop, right? Wrong, it's incredibly weird. Or at least Simone's way of explaining it is weird. According to the actress, during the workshop, they actually explored how different types of animals moved, so as to paint a picture of how different sexualities or paces could be, or how sensual some of these could be. She elaborated by explaining how they looked at the way snails mate, because they produced some strange plasma that interweaves. But based on that, if it was a slow and sensual sort of a scene they'd be filming, they would use the information they learned and would remind themselves of how the snails do it. Not grossed out yet? She further explained, "It's super like the plasma falling like honey. Not sure how that would help make things sexier, but to each their own, I guess." Their team also took notice of how bigger animals like dogs and chimpanzees mate, and since it's quite fast-paced, it is certainly different than snail sex. Apparently, if they were told they'd be shooting that kind of scene, they'd easily work on making it quirky and silly, almost funny. It would apparently help them to visualize the way different animals would act while getting intimate with their partner, and they'd kinda play it the same way, if that makes sense. Okay, it is certainly strange, but it also kinda makes perfect sense. Sure, you must be having the same reaction right now as we did when we first heard that. That's fair. How strange does one have to be to do such an exercise in order to prepare for filming a sexually intimate scene, right? But as weird as it seems, it definitely makes a lot of sense too, you know? These actors have to remain professional and stay out of that zone where it is weird that they have to be objective about getting intimate with a coworker, all the while selling it to the world as a reality. How else do you think the public feels all the feels while watching these scenes? You've gotta have strange systems like that in place to keep yourself and the character you're playing separate. We're sure they don't base their sexual actions on those of different animals in their private lives. This system works on set because it makes it easier, almost scientific for them to get into the zone of having different types of sexual interactions with different partners under different circumstances. And do you really think it would help the actors feel comfortable and or safe if they were to prep for such scenes by watching other beings have sexual intercourse? Even if it was simulated, it would certainly not have the same impact as watching different species than ours going at it in their own way. Because this method has helped Ashley even during her time on Bridgerton, Simone is really new to this whole acting thing, She's only 26 years old and began acting in 2016. She's even newer to the concept of being sexually intimate on screen. She believes that working on those techniques during her time on Sex Education has certainly helped her learn and grow as a performer for not only Bridgerton, but for future projects as well. She has learned a skill which makes her performances effective, while also ensuring her comfort on sets. She expressed that she felt safe, comfortable, and very confident while filming sex scenes as both Kate Sharma as well as Olivia. So honestly, who cares if this method is odd, as long as it helps those who have tried it? We'd really like to hear the experiences of the other cast members of Sex Education to hear their take on this. Also, how amazing is it that a show called Sex Education actually educates its cast members on how other animals have sex? But how is sex on Bridgerton different from that on Sex Education? If you're someone who has watched both shows, you'd know that there's a huge difference between how sex is showed on Bridgerton versus on Sex Education. Sex Education is more of a coming-of-age teen show, where characters go through a sexual and romantic learning curve as they develop new relationships and experience different things no matter the age. Sexual encounters on that show tend to be real and quite raw, often awkward and even funny, as people learn about the realities of sex, their own bodies, or about their partners. Bridgerton, on the other hand, treats sex in a more of a fun way, making it sexy and even unrealistic at times. The show focuses on how sexual encounters look between couples, and on romanticizing every touch and every glance exchanged between the characters. Even Simone explained that Bridgerton is steamy and sexy, while making things appear perfect wasn't exactly the objective of Sex Education. She said that the purpose behind sexual encounters between characters on Sex Education was to show 16-year-olds or even adults facing real issues that come with being sexually intimate with oneself or with other people. Of course, we all know that Bridgerton is bold too, but it's certainly a lot more romantic than that. Ashley was a part of Sex Education for 3 seasons before she became Kate Sharma on Bridgerton, and she shared that she learned a lot of things while filming sex scenes on the Regency-era drama, especially working closely with the show's intimacy coordinator. She said that she learned a lot of things from her, including how it was important to make sure that the woman's pleasure is given importance too, no matter what position they're in. And lastly, filming of sex scenes on Bridgerton also comes with some interesting tricks. Jonathan Bailey actually shared how they reduce the level of awkwardness and ensure the discomfort of performers while filming a sex scene on the sets of Bridgerton is minimal. He explains that the industry has come very far within the span of a year when it comes to using different tricks while filming sex scenes. He explained that they placed little cushions and half-inflated netballs between actors while they're supposedly performing sexual acts for the camera. He explained that a general rule while filming one of these scenes is to ensure that there must be at least 3 barriers separating actors whilst performing certain acts. Placing a half-inflated netball in between, for instance, allows movement without the actors having to connect physically. We really love that there are better ways to make actors comfortable and feel secure while filming these scenes now. But imagine the awkward and hilariously silly moments that must take place while shooting. Wish we could see some of those blooper reels they've got hidden away safely. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.